everybody, my name is Sherry. Welcome to my stamp studio. I am going to take a little, it's not a break, I'm just going to put something in the middle of a series that I had going. So I'll show you the series that I'm working on and then tell you why I skipped back to this one. And then in a couple of days we'll continue on to the one that is going. But there are a few new tutorials if you missed them. This one is for May's Card Club, which is already full, but it's a fun card and it will kind of show you that suite of products. Then the series that I'm doing right now is I'm focusing on all of our papers. So I'm going to do at least 2, but I'm going to try to do 3 cards for all of the new papers. So the first one I was working on was Full of Life. So you can see the little P guys with the Full of Life. So I've used the Full of Life paper with 2 stamp sets that were not part of the suite. And the last one I'm going to do for you will use the suite. Here's the other one. These both used the Spotlight on Nature dies. You can see those circles. And I'm going to use those today with the stamp set that they're actually bundled with. These are just the dies on their own. But today I'm going to use Thoughtful Journey. And I've done 2 cards with it already before I knew I was doing a series. So you can go back and watch the 2 of these. They are used more with the stuff that's part of the suite. Today I'm going to use an alternate stamp with the suite, the Spotlight on Nature. So this one, if you go watch this one, this explains all about the online class that I have coming up. It is a free class. So you purchase the suite from me and you get the class for free. I will send you all of the pieces that aren't part of the suite. So if you need this paper, or I don't even remember the embellishments, I don't remember exactly what's in the suite, and I didn't pull my catalog over here, but you'll need the stamps, the dies, and the paper. And there's probably something else I can't remember. Usually there's 2 or 3 things in a suite. So go watch these. I'll show you more about the suite. If you're a demonstrator and you already have the suite, or if you want to make another paper and another stamp set work, you can just do the videos, or you can also just get the class packet, which does not include any of this paper because I'm trusting that you're going to use your own. But you can get it completely free. But the deadline to sign up for that is the 15th. So that's why I interrupted this series, but it ended up that it will be a series, and I'll have my 3 pictures after we do today's card. So I thought it would be fun to show you the sets with the stamps that they come with, and then give you some alternate ideas with the paper. So the paper for this particular suite is beautiful. So this is what you would get. It's a 6x6 paper. Some of the designs are missing because I've already used them. So this is the piece that I used on the card that I'm going to do today. And I'm trying to decide if I just make it exactly the same. So here's my thought process. This is the piece of paper I used. It's beautiful, is it not? And then I went to glue it on the card, and oh my goodness, this side was beautiful too. So I changed, everything was done. I was to the point I was just going to glue it together on the card. And I kind of switched the design. So then I looked at some other papers in here, and because, like I said, I've used some of them already in class things. Like there's this one, it didn't have exactly the same colors. There's one other one that I could make work. Some of them I think look more fall or winter in tone. So there's this one. Again, it could work, but the back isn't as pretty. That back's not bad. They're all pretty. But as far as changing the design, like I wouldn't have done it. Like this is one of my very favorite pieces of paper, and I've used it. I guess I used it on the other card. I was like, what card did I put that on? So you kind of flip through here. This one's pretty. But again, the back, I would rather stamp on this one. So I think I'm going to go ahead and just use the same piece, even though I would like to show you what it would look like if you chose a different piece, but that piece is too beautiful. So we're going to use this piece of paper. We are going to use some Fluid 100, and then I'm going to use Basic Beige, which is a new color. If you don't have that yet, you definitely need to get the stamp pad because it's fabulous. So the other thing I wanted to show you is because if you're watching this video, I think you probably like the Thoughtful Journey. This, I believe, will come out at the beginning of June. I got it as a gift when we were in Mexico, and I wasn't paying attention when they said it was going to be released. I'm going to blame it on my husband. Let's say he was talking to me in that meeting. So you can see this kit comes with some ribbon. It comes with stamps that match the paper that I just showed you. You get a block. You get these really pretty embellishments. You get a Blackberry Bliss spot. And then look at this. It matches. So look at the envelopes. Like, those are just gorgeous envelopes. So we have this design of envelope and then this design. Again, it matches the paper. And then look at these cards with the gold accents. They're so pretty. And then there's this one. It's pretty too. It's kind of like the other side of the paper, right? But sometimes you need to have less pretty so you feel okay covering it up. Here's where you will stamp the words. And then look at these. Aren't those so pretty? So when the kit does come out, I will make sure and let you know. Here are the gold accents to put on the cards. That's why there's a plain card, so you can put that beautiful stuff on it. Because it's the problem I ran into with this card I'm getting ready to make, and I'll kind of explain it to you as we talk about the design elements of it. So the kit will be called Expressions of Kindness, and then those are the cards that it will make. So I just wanted to make sure that you knew this is coming. It is a kit. It's not a paper pumpkin, so you don't have to subscribe. You can just buy it. If you have somebody in your life that you've tried to convince that they would enjoy this hobby with you, and they've just been kind of so-so about it, get them this kit, because it will be beautiful and it'll be so easy, and you'll knock them right over into your stamping camp. So let's take a look real quick. I just laid that on something wet. Okay, let's take a look at the Spotlight on Nature stamp set, because you have seen me use the die several times. So this is the bundle. You get all these circles, and then these are the two that I'm using on today's card. So I've separated those out. But you get the flowers and the leaves. So I'll show you how my card started. I chose this piece of paper because this right here matches that right there. So here was my design. And I do like this, and I'm going to keep it and maybe stick it on something else. See, you need like that card, the plain card, you need something plain, because when I stuck it on here, pretend all of this is gone, it was a little bit too much. Like, it covered up the design, and so even though it matched nicely, I thought I would go on with something else. So you have the butterfly, the flowers, the two little background stamps, and 2 sentiments, and the leaves. And then you can get it as a bundle. If you feel like you don't need this, get these though, because like I've said, I've used them now. This is the 3rd card in a row, and it's the first time I'm using the stamps that come with. So let's start with our beige. This is just cut in half, and I'm going to score it at 4 1/4. Make sure you use the scoring blade. And then I'm going to take and put my score line on my 1 inch. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then cut that off. That way I've done it at the beginning. I have this piece that's large enough to use for another project. And I just find it's easier instead of marking backwards. So this is going to be the new front of our card. I need to put a new cutting blade in my cutter. So there's that. And then here is the piece of paper that I chose. And obviously for this one, I wanted to make sure that it had the leaves, because when I first cut the paper, I thought I was going to do the leaves. So on that card, I cut off part of the top. I'm going to switch it this time since I didn't use the leaves. I'm going to make this be 5 1/2, because I want full card front. And this is a 6x6 piece of paper. So now we've lost a little bit of the leaves. So my card will look a tiny bit different. And then you can either go 4 1/4 this way, which again, I was going for the leaves. So we'll just do that the same, because it did turn out nicely. I don't want to choose the other direction and then the other one be pretty. So cut this at 4 1/4. And then you have this piece here that is still beautiful. And look how pretty that side is. Why do they put 2 beautiful sides on one piece of paper? So we have that. That will be our card. And then this is just a piece of scrap. I've already stamped something else prior on this piece of watercolor cardstock. So I am going to take my Versamark. I moved my scrap paper, which I am going to need it because we're going to do a little bit of watercolor. Not a lot. It's raining here today. The fan's on, and I had to go put my fuzzy slippers on, because even though it's not cold out, but it reminds me of golf mom days where the temperature would say it was something, and I was like, I'm wearing a winter coat and shoes and socks, and my husband would come in shorts because it was going to be 70, and then he'd want to share my blanket, and I was like, yeah, dude, it's my blanket. You should have known it was going to be cold. So there's the butterfly. And then I'm just going to stamp this thanks kind of here in the middle because I want to be able to cut a circle around it. So I'm going to take my white embossing powder, which mine isn't as white as it used to be because it's got some junk in it. So get both of these so they have powder on them. And then I'm going to heat set these. Okay, so I've heated those. This butterfly does not have a die because this bundle comes with the circles. And my original intent was to stamp this on a circle. But then I tried to decide where I was going to get the saying at on here. So I'm going to take this circle and it goes around here. So I just need to cut this. So I'll get that. And then I'm going to take this circle. I'm going to put it just about here, which is going to be a little bit of different placement than my other one because you'll see what a big difference having that half an inch makes on the card. So I'm going to run these through my die cutting machine. All right, so I've trimmed those out. I used my snips and I cut this out. And then again, this was a little bit of a design change on my card. Here's my circle. Because my original idea was to put this on a card front and then pop this up so it was just a little bit popped up, and I was going to tie my ribbon over here. Like, I had it all in my mind, and then here I am, everything's all put together, and I flipped this over, and that was just so pretty, and I hated to cover it up. So I went back, and then that was when I trimmed this, so we'll be able to have a flip front card. But then I needed to have a little bit more, I wanted it to look a little bit different, and I love when these look like paintings. We don't have a folder right now that really does the full painted look, but this does just enough that it makes this have a little bit of texture, and we're going to keep this piece flat. So this is one of our new folders. So for this particular folder, it is not 3D, which means it's not a super thick folder. So when you run it through, you need a clear plate and a clear plate, and that's how you run it through. I've had a couple of people email me and tell me that their folder wasn't working, and it's just that they had the wrong sandwich, because if you try to put it through with the gray one that goes with our 3D, it's not going to press hard because it needs a little bit more. And you can see it will do a full sheet, which, where did I lay those cards? I used it, I think I used it on both these cards. So this is the third time now to use this folder on these cards. So here I just did the card front, and then here I put the half a sheet of cardstock through. So I had the whole thing, so you can get the whole card to be textured. So I love this new size. It gives you some options, and when you're cutting stuff for classes and you have to do 100, 120, 140 of something, it's nice to get it through twice. So you can see it doesn't change it so much. It doesn't put, it isn't a tile, it isn't, you know, raindrops or something that is a pattern. It's just some texture. So we have that, but we're going to keep this piece nice and flat. And there's some static in here. So the reason I went with the white embossing powder was because, you know, my original card, I was trying to match this. So you could change it. You could use black, you could use gold, you could use silver. There's several colors that you could use. But that, if you're wondering why I used white, and I have to put these aside because this is one of my projects for my in-person camp this week. So as soon as I'm done filming, I'm just getting it ready for them. So let's paint this now. It won't take long because there's not a whole lot you can see to paint. So I have Freesia, Wild Wheat, Lost Lagoon, and Basic Beige. So let's start with the Freesia. Grab a tissue. I'm throwing my other one out because it was kind of yucky. So you want to start, I'm going to use the water painter. This is one of my favorite things to use. Make sure that it's coming out clear. If you get a little bit of hints of beige in your ink, it won't matter. Let's lay this here because it's kind of where I got my color palette. So just take your ink pad, two options. You can squeeze it like this and press some ink onto the lid, or you can take the refill for that color pad and just add a little drop of refill into the middle. So I'm going to get some water. I want it to be pretty watercolory, especially for this first time through. And you can see it will resist embossing. So there's that. I'm just going to drip this over here. And let's get our Lost Lagoon. Get some water here. And I'll start over here on this one. Just going to swirl it around. You are using quite a lot of water. And you could use a different blue. The Lost Lagoon on this is really more towards, it's the grass. So it's on the bottom sheet of the paper, but you could use a blue if you wanted to. There's a lot of colors in this paper, so you're bound to have some that will work. I want some of it to be darker, just like this has darker and lighter. Just trying to mimic that. Let's get some more on our butterfly. I'm doing a little bit of mixing of colors on the butterfly. Let's dab some on here. The Fluid 100 watercolor paper will withstand a ton of water being added to it. If you do this on white or vanilla cardstock, you'll have to be careful that you don't put so much water on it that you ruin the paper, because it has a limit on those, on how much water it can take before it starts to kind of pill. And I've got wild wheat. I'm just going to kind of brush this on her body and her antennas, so we have a little bit of different color. And just kind of drag a tiny bit into the butterfly. And that's it for all the wild wheat. And then the basic beige. A well-loved stamp pad should have lots of stuff going on inside of it. It should look like you've used it a lot. And I love the way that when you mix the beige with the Lost Lagoon, look at that color you get there. Smudge this on here so it has that. And then on my other one, because the design of the card, I'd already painted the butterfly and I didn't have any beige on it, I'm going to add just a little bit, because I like the way that the colors change when you add the beige, which isn't a huge difference from the wild wheat, but it is a little bit, not nearly as yellow, especially once it dries. Oops. The reason I did beige last was because I still need it. So make sure you drip your paintbrush so it comes out with clear water. And then let's grab the card. So my other card, when I did this, the card was made because I was like, it still needs something, but we're going to do it the right way on this one. I'm going to take my basic beige, and then there's two little backgrounds, so you could use both of them or just one. I just went with the kind of crosshatch meshy design. This was the part that was a little harder to do when my card was put together. I'm just going to add a little bit of texture in here. I'm just going to kind of fill it in. I'm going to leave some space down here so you could sign your name. I want a little bit of lighter, so that's going to get covered up. There we go. Oops. One more place that I did it. I'm a little ahead of myself in this one. So the paper's still wet, so this will smear just a little bit, but that's okay. It kind of just goes with that overall water design. The other thing it does is it kind of makes it match a little bit to the folder that we just put it through. Kind of looks like it gave it texture. So just a little bit. Now we're going to take our new basic beige ribbon. I'm just going to add it to this side. Originally in my mind it was going to go over here because my card was different. So if you're putting this just flat, if you're using a piece of the paper where you don't care if you see the background, you could do that. Hang on a second, my cat needs me. So just tie this, sorry she's crying. if she thinks she's been left. It makes me sad because I know that when nobody's in the house and she's crying, there's nobody here to tell her that she's not by herself. So I'm going to put my ribbon here. Make sure that you kind of tie it the direction that you want it to go. And I want it to go up and down because I don't really want it to hang off the side of my card. But you can control that. So just make sure that when you tie it, this is the direction we're going with it. And then if you want, you can add a little bit of adhesive to keep it there. But if you tie it that direction, it's pretty good. Trim these off. This is one of those shreddy ribbons. You know, some of them you have to trim again because they get kind of hairy on the ends. Now I'm going to take my card. You need to make sure that you take your bone folder and you're going to, this is going backwards and then we'll go back forwards because you want this to have a really good bend and you want it then to stay shut. So I did this, I left, we left an inch on this because I wanted to make sure that, especially paper that's been through the folder, is not nearly as sturdy as card. So you need to make sure that as they open it, this is gonna pull and you're not gonna pull on that. So I left an inch and here's what happens. You have an inch and then you go to put on your beautiful window and you have this. So you could put your die back on and run it through the die machine, but it's not that big of a deal because it's gonna be covered up. So I just traced a circle on here, or the part that needs to come out, and then I did just a little bit bigger. So you don't even have to worry that your pencil's showing, because you don't want this to show underneath that and cover up your circle. So now when you put it on here, it's gonna have its own little gap, but still it leaves you an inch. In fact, once I realized I was gonna do it that way, I probably would do 1.25 inches. Then you're gonna wanna use glue or Seal Plus, again, because you want it to hold this on here. Just pull this on and I'm going to put enough there that it doesn't lift up at all. And then when you put this back on, see, now you have no gap there. And then I'm going to take my Seal Plus again, put 2 little strips there, and then you're going to match this back up. So the other one I had to match my leaves. I didn't want them to look like they were cut up. This time I'm going to make sure that the tree looks good. But you can still do it from your leaves. So once you get it, because that's a little bit of a, there we go. Now the tree should be matched. So we're just doing this through the card and then just gently poke it through and open that. And now you have this beautiful, but look, we didn't cover up all this beauty. And then that was why I added this, because there was a lot going on over here and then nothing. You could also stamp another sentiment down there if you wanted to. And I'm going to use Seal Plus on this because the paper is still wet and it will just hold it better. You could use something else if you wanted to wait a couple seconds. Pop this on here. And then I want this to have just a little bit of lift, but I didn't really want to use a dimensional because this paper is kind of heavy on its own. So I'm just going to take my bone folder and just barely lift up those wings there. And then I'm only going to put the adhesive down here where it's not folded up. I'm going to have her look like she's kind of landing on our sentiment. And then, just because I like some sparkle, I just took my Wink of Stella and I just added some, not to all of her wings, but just to a couple, or parts of it. That way you notice it a little bit more if there's some with and some without. And then I just took kind of the side of my Wink of Stella and just added a little bit of sparkle. Again, I don't want it everywhere because you kind of notice it more if it's not everywhere. And then the gems that are part of this suite, so you would get them with the suite if you order it for the free class, are the Adhesive Back Pearl Trios. They come in these colors. These are the remnants from cutting them up for Try It class. So I didn't want, on this particular card, you saw as I was flipping through the paper, the ones especially with more of the autumn tones to them, the coral would be really pretty. But for these two, we're just going to go with the, whatever color this is. It may be, I don't know what the color it is. This looks like it's the freesia. But once they put the iridescent stuff on them, it's kind of hard to tell what colors they are. It gives them, they always have then a yellow glow. So there's 2 of the purple ones and then one of this green blue. It might be Lost Lagoon. I don't like that there. Let's move this one. They look like they're in a line. That wasn't my intent. Let's put it here. It's not where my other ones are. So remember on the other one, my leaves are all at the bottom, and this one I pushed it up so I got the whole tree. The other one, the tree, it's cut off the top. So here is the card, super easy. And you could do it a similar design with all of the pieces of paper in this pack, because then you can get to see the backs. And then if my other one's still going pretty straight, you can take just a little piece of adhesive and put that there. A glue dot, a tiny strip of the Seal Plus. It's not going off so far that this one wouldn't go in an envelope though. And then here's this one. So you can see just yet, it's not that big of a difference, but I decided I did want the tree on there. Here's this, which probably means this is, yeah, this is different in here too, because yeah, I lost the blue when I pushed it the other direction. So if you're interested in the class, you have till the 15th. The information is on my website. It will be down below this video on YouTube, or if you're on my email list, you're going to get a reminder on the 14th and 15th. Have a great one. Bye.